Alright guys, so last time we took a look at the basics, but I think we're all gonna benefit from just looking at how to use Dynamesh on real time. So here is just a quick block out of a character that I'm doing. Now the way I started it, I have not yet used the subtools. I just went in first, gather up some of the references just like I explained during class. You would see that here. I recommend you guys actually download the software. It's a pretty light software. Pure Ref is what it's called. So Pure Reference, Pure Ref. And it just allows you to bring any images to the forefront of your desktop. So instead of having to upload something into Zbrush, I would just have your inspirational images handy. And so what we're doing here is blocking things out, and I just created by using the brush a sphere that allowed me to do the first part of the head and block that out kind of quick. Then with also a brush, so this is all brushes, I went ahead and imported a circle for the head like I mentioned, but then a square for the actual lower part of the bust. And so I'm able to just move it around, and just by dynameshing it, as you can see, a dynamesh will be located in the geometry, and then down there you will see dynamesh. I'll click on it and just kind of keep it selected. I'm doing this process here again where you can see me bring geometrical shapes, and so the shortcut is the letter B for brush and then I, and there you will see those meshes based on geometric form. And so to activate Dynamesh so that you have multiple objects to combine, it's going to be a matter of just doing a mask in an empty area. So to do that, you're going to click and hold on an empty area on the interface, and then you're going to let go, and that immediately is going to allow you to Dynamesh any objects together. And so now I'm just smoothing, jumping back and forth between the clay and the move tool, and just like that it allows me to quickly set something up. Again, using the clay build-up there, smooth, and I'm not really going into selecting the smooth brush. I just hold on shift. So far, because I'm blocking, I want to make sure that I work symmetrically, so just clicking X. Oh, so here this part is kind of nice. There's one called like body parts, so B parts, and this allows you to select any body part you want, and I'm actually using this to create the ears. So I kind of put it in place, that way I don't have to sculpt all that, right? As you can see here, I'm gonna Dynamesh it together, and once I do, I'm just gonna start moving it around up until I get the shape that I want. I'll gather my references so that I have something to look at while working on this area. Now I do run into an issue here, that it happens often when you're working with very thin areas within your sculpture that starts creating holes. So there are a couple of ways in which we can solve this. For instance here, I went ahead and remesh the whole thing. It takes a little bit, but it did not got rid of the problem. However, after a couple of attempts, I decided to went in and do the inflate brush. The inflate brush actually helped out in adding more of that geometry that I originally lost within that gap that you see here. So over here I was trying to just kind of move it into place, but at the end that still left me a little empty as far as fixing that issue. Moving forward though, if you run into this, the best thing to do is to avoid it from the very beginning. And so you can always go to an option down in your brushes, all the way at the top, just go down to where it says auto masking, and below it call back face mask. And so that one you're going to make sure that is turned on, and you're not going to run into those issues. Yeah, I had to troubleshoot this for a little while Like I said before, I end up using the inflate tool and then dynameshing it a couple of times, and that actually got rid of the problem. As you can see there, I'm dynameshing it, but you got to make sure the dynamesh is actually on. So turn that on and notice that automatically, very quickly fixes it. And now you just continue as you were before. Working with that grid is often kind of annoying, so I rather turn it off most of the time when I'm working. But every now and then, it's good to know where your mesh is at. Yeah, you can turn it on and off right there. And so through this project, I have found myself dynameshing quite a bit. And another good tip is to constantly be looking at your model from different angles. Do not just get fixated on the one angle, because then you will see that there's going to be some issues that will kind of arrive. And so you notice there I do have a little hole on my geometry, and so to get rid of it, the fastest way is just to re-dynamesh it, and that will get rid of it. So those issues can be slightly annoying. And yeah, and this is a process that will take you a while, guys. So just be patient with yourself as you go through it. Sometimes it's kind of hard to explain how to work with Zbrush, because unlike Maya, there's not really like any values that I can show you. Oh, put this many values on X, Y, or Z. Over here, it's more like feeling it, and as you go, you're kind of seeing it from multiple angles, see what works, see what does not. This is why your foundation work is so important, because over here it's almost like the foundation work should be out of the way completely, and you're only focusing on now learning the program and learning how to move around in a way that you can still create very appealing looking creatures and projects. So again, whenever you start seeing the geometry getting a little too stressed out, which means that the polygons start to look too rough, just dynamesh it, holding control, and click away from the model. And this is actually one technique that I've learned from sculpting. Whenever you're adding to an area and you want to create some sort of crevice or crease, make sure that at the same time that you're adding, you're also taking away. And this will allow you to create those much faster, and they'll look much better. So it's gonna kind of give you the sense of flesh. Make sure that you play with the size of your brush. This is not a one size fits all. You will have to constantly be changing that size. There's going to be areas where the bigger brush, especially blocking it out, will make sense. But some other areas, even as you can see here for the ear, I have to block it out with a smaller brush for it to be efficient. And of course, the more you dynamesh, the more of those maybe details that you had at one point, those start looking a little blurry, which is fine as long as you have a game plan and you kind of know what you're going for. I started noticing here that the ears did not really give me the silhouette that I was looking for. I really like the face from the side, but not from the front. And so although the ears, they were blocked out correctly, I still now needed to move them so that I can hide them slightly behind the horns. And this would now means that their ears will become much smaller than I originally anticipated. But yeah, otherwise, to me, it started to look silly. And so, just little by little, adjusting the size of the brush, started moving it around up until I was happy with it. And it's interesting. I think, everybody works slightly different. For me at least, I like jumping from side to side. And if I see something kind of wrong that can stand improvement, I like just tackling it then and there. And so my workflow in that sense, it can seem slightly messy, right? It's not like I'm tackling one area and up until I don't tackle the next one. I don't really operate in that direction. For me, it's more about just getting things right away. Uh, and so, as long as I have a good blocking of things, I'll feel good to just move on to the next thing. And if I see some mistakes along the way, then I rather fix them then and there. And I don't have to go fix them 100%, but I do have to fix them enough so that once I maybe circle back to it, it's not really like a big issue, and hopefully it'll go unnoticed. So there you see it. I'm just shrinking that size, trying a couple of different things. Some of them worked. This one in particular did not, but I had to kind of go back, smooth it out a little bit. You see, here now we're getting to a size that I was happy from the front view. So it did show a little bit of the ears, but it worked out nicely. But yeah, as you can tell, like here I'm just went in to really work on that ear, but the blocking could be considered quite completed at this point. I hope this is helpful, and if you do have any questions, please make sure to reach out to me.